Hello, listeners, and welcome to Nostalgic or Problematic, a generation in between sub-series, micro-series, where we are discussing season 1 of the Xennial classic Dawson's Creek, and we have made it to double digits.
I know. There's only a few more left.
I think I looked when I was on Amazon Prime. By the way, that's where we're watching it, is on Amazon Prime, and it said 13 episodes for season 1. So we are discussing episode 10 today.
Yeah. The last few episodes are some of my favorite ones.
Really?
Yeah, because I looked ahead to see which one was next.
Mm-hmm.
And won't tell you.
Don't tell me.
What was that?
Oh, I think it was the wagon handle.
Oh. So as y'all know, we had horrible sound issues last couple episodes. So sorry. But Katie's amazing husband did some fixing, and so did Katie. They worked together to make our sound amazing. So hopefully this sounds glorious.
And you guys are just going to be like, wow, what were we ever listening to before? That's what I think is going to happen.
I know.
Okay, so episode 10 is entitled Double Date.
Yes.
I don't have the summary.
I do.
Okay,
yes.
Let's do it.
Okay. Dawson arranges a double date with Jen and her new boyfriend. That was fast. An extra credit assignment brings Pacey and Joey together.
Best thing ever, by the way. Yes. So know that it's Jen's new boyfriend.
I know.
She's just going on a date with Cliff. I'm just mad because it's Scott Foley and I want him to be my boyfriend.
I knew it. I was like, here comes Scott Foley again.
He's back. Scott Foley and Dawson's dad all in the same episode.
I mean, I do like Dawson's dad, but Scott Foley is not for me.
Okay. That's all right.
Not for me.
He's for me. He has another weird name. It's like Cliff. I forget. They said his full name in this episode because I turn on the captions just so like I don't miss anything.
Oh, you do? Cooper does that.
Yeah. So I see like the full names that they say. Remember how we were saying last time it was like Warren Jeffries or whatever the heck his name was. And we're like, what are these names? Cliff's is something weird too.
Yeah, it is. Oh, so that's why you're always able to write down their quotes because you have on the captions and you can just pause it.
Yes. That's correct. That is my little hack.
What a hack.
I do that.
Captions distract me.
I get that. And like my husband doesn't like them because they tell you what they're going to say beforehand. So you can't really like watch the acting. I don't know. I feel like I can watch both, but I understand that.
I mean, I'm lucky that I don't need them right now.
Mm-hmm.
But like my family always makes fun of me because I don't have the best hearing.
Mm-hmm. Me either.
And so I listen to stuff so loud. And they're like, just turn the captions on. I'm like, I don't want to. So one day I'm going to have to do it. But I will just sit there and read. Like, I just get too focused on reading.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the ADHD brain. Like, you can't like do
one or the other.
I don't know. Know. But anyway,
I feel like I can do both. So, and like in my house, it's not even like a loudness issue. It's layers of sound. For example, sometimes I'll watch stuff when my husband's like watching a hockey game in the next room, and then I also hear someone in the kitchen making something, like 8 or 9 at night.
Right.
And then like my dog is like snoring next to me. And so for me to just on hearing alone be able to understand what's going on with all that tertiary sound is like impossible.
Hard. Yeah.
And then I finished Dawson's Creek early this morning. So my thing was I didn't want it super loud because I was the only one up. And so I turned on. What is happening?
What was that noise? Oh my God. What was that?
That was really weird. What was that?
Sorry, we just heard this weird like scratchy noise. If a mouse comes out of somewhere, I'm out of here. So what a morning this is. We're recording on a Saturday morning, which we don't usually do.
No, we're waiting for our friends Patrick and Dina. Okay.
Let's
Why don't you start and I'm just going to peek while you talk.
If there's a mouse, wave at me and I'm out. All right. So this episode, we already said it was about, actually had a lot of happies. I only had a few saddie faces. Okay, Katie, is there any mouse?
I don't see anything.
Oh, geez.
Literally nothing. So I think we're okay.
Okay.
I think we're okay. I'll keep my eyes and ears open.
Oh, Lord. All right.
So we also probably need to discuss the idea that this room might be haunted.
No, I'm not even putting that in
because that last episode, there was some like weird breathing and popping going on, which is mic issue. But there were some other sounds in there. I don't know what.
Okay, I don't want to know that. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Anyway, okay, start.
First, happy. Well, not happy. Okay, so let me fix it because it's not happy or sad. It's happy face, sad face. My first nostalgic moment was the whole awkward post breakup. Let's just be friends.
Yep.
Because it never works, guys, when you're a teenager. Well, okay, let me rewind. I will give my oldest some credit because him and his girl, he had his first like big girlfriend and they broke up and they are still able to be cordial. Now they're not friends. Like they're not texting each other like, let's hang out.
Right.
So, but like that whole, can we just be friends? Like I remember, I remember that.
Oh, I remember that. I totally do. Just in general from dating as a teenager and like college, we both got married in our 20s. Yeah. So, but like, one of my first heart was just when Joey was telling him all the different steps of what's going to happen. And she's like, and inevitably she's going to ask to be your friend. And he's like, no, whatever. And then like, she's like, I have something to ask you. Can we be friends? But I think maybe like I can think of people, I mean, at this point, 20 years ago I dated, but like that are friends of mine. I wouldn't say we hang out, but like I follow them on Facebook or whatever. But there's no way I could have been those people's friends immediately after our breakup. No. Like that's come out of like time and distance and like letting the feelings die. There's no way you can go from, especially, and I talk about this more in my notes as we go on, in a relationship that to me was very one-sided.
Oh yeah.
I wrote later, I mean, I might as well say it now. Especially like in that Ferris wheel scene, which we'll get to. Oh. I don't think that Jen is attracted to him at all.
I know.
No vibe that there's attraction
I think
there.
She wants to be. Do you know, like, I think about, like, not to skip ahead, but like with Pacey and the Joey situation, we'll talk about that in a second, but there's people who are just such nice people and you want to be attracted to them when you're of a certain age, but you just aren't.
It's just not there.
I had a friend in high school. His name was BJ and he was the sweetest guy. He was so funny. We went to a dance together and like we just had fun. He's a great singer. Like we had so much fun. He was so much fun to be around. I just did not feel that way about him. Yeah. And he had a crush on me and told me, and I was like, why did you do that? Like,
yeah.
Because and I was like, I wish I could. I just don't. I just can't. And I feel like that's Jen. Like
I think so too. And I think she's also trying to be the kind of person that would like a Dawson.
Right.
But that's like a personal growth era that she's in. It's not, anyway. So I just thought Joey in that scene when she was saying this is all going to happen, and we already talked about this, but my second thing I really liked was Dawson's dad. And then so this is it. First minute or so, because they do those opening credits where it's like the names and stuff. So it's literally Dawson's dad on screen, and then it says Scott Foley, like that he's going to be on the episode. And I was like, Scott Foley in the credits. Yes, I'm hooked. I'm here.
Then that's it. I am paying attention.
I am paying attention.
Oh my gosh. All right. So what else do you have? Besides that,
one, like an observation when I have the ones that aren't good or bad. I said, what did we think of Pacey's advice to get Jen back? When he was like, so here's what you got to do, Dawson. You got to ask someone else out.
I don't like that. Yeah. I wrote that as a frowny, like using another girl for a revenge date. Yeah. I don't like that. That's like, yucky.
I think he was, the reason I was like not total X on it is only because I think Pacey was trying to help in the best way he could.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, there's more people out there. But then he was like if it would have just been that, like get out there, see who's out there. But it was like, do this with the intent to make Jen jealous.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And it was like you're just using somebody and their feelings, for your benefit.
Yeah.
And for your, processing or whatever.
Absolutely.
That is a problematic thing.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I put Mary Beth as adorable.
She's so cute.
Did
she look familiar to you?
She did look familiar. I don't know what else I've seen her in.
Yeah. I didn't even look her up. I should have. I was literally doing 500 things while I was watching this.
Yeah.
Like I was putting my color conditioner from y'all who've seen pictures of me. I have pink hair. That is just, it's like from Overtone conditioner. Feel free to pay me money, Overtone. Anyway, it's just, I have to put it on every so often. And I was in my bathroom with the iPad here. Then I was as it was like all in my hair processing, I was taking my nail polish off and trimming my nails.
Yeah. So you're like also watching Dawson's and trying to take notes. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
I love it.
So I did not Google who she was.
No, me either. Does she come back? Or is that kind of just okay. Well, maybe we still will. Just as a little follow-up. What else do you have?
I love Pacey and Joey's little back and forth banter because it's so nostalgic of all the rom-com / drama movies of the 90s.
Yep.
Like 10 Things I Hate About You, You've Got Mail, where it's just like, oh, I can't stand you, but then I do like you.
But you're like matching like wit for wit.
Wit for wit. Yeah. It was, I just love it. I just thought it was really fun.
I thought so too.
And then I laughed so hard when they were doing the snails.
I know what you're going to say because I think I have it in here.
And she was like, so you tried to have a snail menage a trois?
Yeah, this is what I had. A snail menage a trois that cracked.
I was like, such a teen boy thing to do, right? Like, let me add another girl in the mix to see if that helps.
And then the one girl snail is just going to eat all the snails. And
which was so great.
That was so funny. She's like, do you know what a carnivorous snail is? And I'm like raising my hand. Ooh, I do. That same kind of scene when Joey tells Pacey he'll be the leader of the morons in summer school. Because he's like, only morons go to summer school. She's like, well, you're on track to be their leader. Like kind of what you were saying, that like back and forth. I thought it was really, really good.
Oh man, I can't. It just made me laugh because like that's such a teen boy thing to do.
Yeah.
Like,
and then he ruins everything.
And then he ruined it all.
Yeah. All of it. I also said, back to Mary Beth, her outfit at the carnival.
Oh, I know. So
with
cute.
The like little collared shirt, little jacket. I just thought she was so cute.
She was cute. And I mean, they casted her well because she was able to embody that, like, you know, just kind of like average teen girl during in the Cape Side or whatever. And speaking of the carnival, that was another nostalgic for me because every year, so any of my people out there who are from my hometown of Slidell will know this. There was a big giant Catholic church. There's many Catholic churches. There's one that was bigger than the others. They had their campus or whatever had some big land. So they would do a fair every year, like a carnival, like a huge rides and all. It got bigger and bigger every year. The St. Margaret Mary Fair. It was in the fall, and that was the place to be. My whole childhood and teen life, I never didn't go. Like, and they would be there for like a weekend, or maybe it was. I don't remember if it was set up longer than that. Because like now, you know, fairs come and they stay for like a month. It's like crazy, and that was wild. Not. Yeah, it was short. And as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh, St. Margaret Mary Fair. Like I went every year from the time I can remember living there, like my whole life. So. Yeah.
We had a big Catholic church that did that too. I think they still do. People called it the Queen's Fest because it was Queen of All Saints was the church.
I would not think a Queen's Fest would be that.
Queen's Fest. I don't think people realized what it sounded like.
What if you showed up and you were like, oh, damn it. I thought there was going to be lots different.
Is not the Queen's Fest at the Catholic Church that I was hoping for.
Oh, man.
But same thing. I feel like it was there maybe a couple days.
Yeah.
But maybe it was like the place to go.
The place to be.
My parents weren't really into all of that. So I would have to go like friends, families.
Yeah, I can remember. I mean, hello.
And 80s. Then as a teen, I would just like
go by yourself.
Go with my friends. Yeah.
I swear I remember just getting dropped off there. Like I'm pretty sure like like my parents
same
just,
probably
like once I was a little bit older, like I say a little bit older, like in 5th grade.
Yeah. Once I was 11.
Once I was in double digits.
Yeah, exactly.
I got dropped off because 80s parenting was power in numbers. So as long as you had other children
other
with
people
you.
there. Yeah. I mean it's still.
I know.
You know, it's still. Okay, so another one from the carnival that I have. Scott Foley throwing baseballs.
Katie.
I loved it. It was so good. Hey, and I'm allowed to because he was like 35 when he filmed these episodes. So it's okay. I mean, he wasn't that old. But
Scott Foley. Like, I know you and Carlos.
Like, Dawson, how are you trying to out-throw Scott Foley? Give me a break.
Also dying laughing. Like, after we had like a whole episode where we know that Dawson is not athletic. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, everyone. I am not either. Like, seriously, I am worst player at every single sport known to man, promise. 100%. And people are always like, oh, but you're a personal trainer. I'm like, okay, but that's not sports. I'm not a sports trainer.
You're not competing.
Sports trainer.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes up there to the thing and he's like, oh, I'm going to get this. And I was like, oh, Dawson. And then he got it. Like he got the last thing. Like, no.
It was so like Chariots of Fire moment where it's like, is the hero going to win? And then it's like, and then so what? Like he gets that's stuffy, what I said. And he like looks at Jen and then it's like a whole uncomfortable thing.
I actually had that as a frowny face.
Yeah, I did
because I said that's like and the girls even they're like, oh, it's like a pissing contest. Like
I was just about to say, classic pissing contest.
They called attention to that because I was like, that's such like a toxic masculinity thing.
Yeah.
To like show your physical prowess over another man.
Yeah. And if you didn't watch it and you're just listening, so Dawson and then the character that Scott Foley plays, Cliff, they're at this carnival and they're throwing baseballs at, I don't know what, like wooden bottles. They're meant to look like bottles. And the more you knock over, you win like a prize. And so Cliff, who's like on the baseball team, is like really good at it. So then Dawson kind of challenges him to it. It's really, really dumb. It's really dumb.
It'd be like if I challenge somebody to any sports related anything.
Yeah.
They'd be like, great. Like, for instance, my family, like when we were on our cruise, we went on vacation not too long ago and we were just playing ping pong. Now, everybody else in my family is very good at sports, all three of them. And they're also very competitive. I'm also not super competitive. So nobody wants me on their team.
Right.
Ever. For valid like totally does not hurt my feelings. We were playing ping pong and they were like, oh, I guess I don't even remember whose team I was on. And maybe it was, I ended up with my husband because he's like, don't worry, I'll just hit all of them. I was like, that'll work.
Yeah, you're like, cool. I'll just stand here. Yeah.
Anyways.
That's awesome.
All right. What else you got?
I like when they're in the parking lot and Mary Beth and Dawson, because she sees this moment where he's trying to give the stuffy to Jen or whatever. And so next thing you know, they're in the parking lot. They're having this like heart to heart. She's like, oh no, I knew you were still hung up on Jen. I shouldn't have come. So first of all, she admits that she has a huge crush on Cliff.
Right.
So it made me feel like good. Like I was like, okay, they're both kind of using the other to like whatever. And then she says to Dawson, I wrote down the quote, do I like you? No. Or she goes, do I like you? Yes. Do I like you? No. You're a little too neurotic. And I was like, you go, girl. Like, she's just like very clear, like, no, I don't like you in that way.
Good for her.
I was like, yeah. I just thought that was a really, really good line. And then just observation time. Wait for this one.
I'm excited.
So many solid red shirts in this episode. Did you notice that?
I did not.
Dawson had one on in the opening scene. Joey had one on later. Who also have Mary Beth was wearing one at one point. And Pacey had one on at one point. I think Dawson's dad did too. Literal just solid red shirts, but not in the same scene.
What a funny thing to notice.
And then I was like, why? After a while, I was like, this has to be on purpose, right? Or was red just like in?
Probably just in.
It's what J. Crew had on the rack that week. So
maybe the costumer was just in a red mood. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
I mean, okay, very funny.
What else do you have for things that you liked?
You know what's weird? I feel like we were just kind of going back and forth here, haven't we? Okay, so I remember back in 1998 when this episode originally aired, I was so here or there, I should say, for the Pacey Joey tension. I loved it and I still love it today.
Me too.
And I actually remember back then being all about like Pacey, Joey, Jen, Dawson, like that whole love triangle, square, whatever. So that was nostalgic for me because it made me remember, oh yeah, this was a fun time back in the good old 1998.
Yes. Well, I was thinking that too. I wrote down that I like that. Obviously, there's several scenes between Joey and Pacey in this episode, but this really sweet scene back at Joey's house.
Oh, yeah.
When they're talking and Pacey's like, well, what did you get on the midterm? And finally she admits she got a 98. And so he's like, well, why are you doing extra credit? And she has that whole little speech about, I've got to get out of here. My only way out is a scholarship. I need 100% on everything. And him just kind of like being like, I mean, then later, he's like, oh, I actually think I like her. But this was before that.
Yeah.
And he's kind of just as a friend being like, yeah, you're going to get out of here. Like, you're like the smartest person ever, And I just thought that the whole Joey's not often vulnerable.
Right.
And for her to kind of have that moment where she's like, I have to be perfect at this stuff. And here's why. And to really like articulate that well and him to sort of be a safe space
of all people
to do that.
Yeah.
Of all people. Yeah. I just thought that was really, really a sweet scene. I liked that.
Yeah, I did too. But I will say, frowny face, problematic was him peeping on her when she was changing clothes.
Oh, no.
Especially after he said he wouldn't.
I know.
I didn't like that. And then they made it look like some cute moment. And I'm like,
the music was like,
and did you hear the weird song?
Yeah.
Like the lyrics said like, I want to be your wet t-shirt. And then some random underwear phrase. I was like,
I did not hear that, but yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, it was weird. It was the weirdest song and it just made it even creepier. But like, I didn't like that how they made that look like
it's okay to do.
Like, oh, look how cute. He's peeping at her naked. Like, no.
When she already said multiple times,
if I catch you looking, you're dead or whatever. And he's like, I'm not.
I'll go on the thing. Yeah. I will say the peeping bad, but I did have a heart by just the storytelling of them naked wrapped in blankets having to drive in the truck.
Oh my God. That was funny.
I did like that. I thought that was funny. I didn't like that he was being creepy, but I liked that like it was like, I don't know, just like this idea that they had to like wade through this cold water and now they're wrapped in blankets in a pickup truck, like driving to get clothes. And they hate each other.
I know,
quote
right?
Unquote.
Correct.
So I thought that part was actually kind of funny. That made me chuckle.
It was
a little.
Funny. But I would kept thinking like, why didn't they just wrap up in the blanket? Why do you have to take your clothes off? Like, I would not have taken my clothes off.
I don't think I would have either.
Like,
although like I would have like what they were wading through though. I may have felt just like grossed out, but I guess it depends. We don't know how far Joey's house is. Like if it's like a 5-minute drive, just put the blanket
in a blanket. Like, come on.
I know. It was a bit much. It was a bit
funny.
much.
It was
but
funny.
I didn't mind it.
It was funny. I only have a couple more things.
Okay.
Actually,
I have a few more hearts.
I only have one more thing I wrote down. So go ahead.
I already talked about this, but observation that it just seems like Jen doesn't really like Dawson in that way. So we already talked about that.
Yeah.
I like the scene where then later Pacey tries to kiss Joey and she kind of is like, what are you doing? And he shouldn't have necessarily tried to do that without consent. So there's a whole discussion there that we can get into. But when she was like, no, that was kind of it.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't like, what do you mean? Like you've been flirting with me all day. And he was just like, oh man, okay, I'm embarrassed.
Or not like, come on. Yeah.
Or like trying again. Yeah. It was very much just like, oh, you don't feel that way. You don't want to kiss me. Okay.
No, and I felt so bad for him.
Me too.
Because that happened to me in my life before.
Yeah.
And that is so, it is like the worst. Like when you feel that way about somebody, because I already talked about when somebody felt that way about me, but I mean, I had it happen in reverse too. And it's like, oh, and you, especially if you're under the misunderstanding that they are going to reciprocate and then they don't. And you're like, like
totally. I think we've all been there.
It's so bad
on different levels of it.
Yes,
like
it's so embarrassing.
So when I was in college, there was he was a grad student. So I would have been probably like 20 when I met him. He was probably 23 or 24. And he had like an office because he helped with all the different like clubs. That's part of what he did like for getting his degree. So cute. And I stumbled upon him because I was an officer in my sorority. And so I would be down there. So I would go and just like hang out with him. So I was single at the time, like was going out, probably drinking. I don't know if I was 21 yet, but and we just had the best time. So my sorority, I mean, this is months that I would like go there. And I suppose we could have like texted each other or whatever, but we never like shared numbers or anything.
Nobody texted then, Katie.
No, nobody did. Nobody did. So we would just literally see each other if I would stop in. And every now and then he'd be like, oh, what are you up to this weekend? You know, stuff like that. But we never made plans outside that. But like kind of what you were saying. So finally, my sorority was having a dance.
Oh, no.
And I was like, you should come with me. And he was like, oh, I have a girlfriend.
Oh.
And I remember just being like,
what?
Well, really embarrassed, but also like, you're not kind of acting like you have a girlfriend unless literally you just like, I mean, nothing physical had happened.
Well, right.
But there was something I felt like was there. So I stopped going there as much. Oh. It was really bad.
Good job.
Thank you.
You can tell she's getting uncomfortable all over again.
Comfortable right now.
Telling that story because we've all been there, like on some level.
Months in the process of me trying to get up the courage to be like, I think we like each other. Let's do something about it. And him being like, oh no, I don't like you at all.
What are you talking about?
I have a girlfriend. Oh my gosh. Anywho.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so then I had one more heart. And I just said that final scene where Dawson's parents are at the end dancing and then they just let the phone ring.
Yeah.
And I just wrote that it felt very intentional.
Yeah.
That they were trying to just focus on each other. And obviously earlier in the episode, the dad was having trouble because the guy she had an affair with had called the house about something.
That's pretty ballsy.
I had that as an ex. I don't think it's necessarily problematic, but it was just something I hated. I was like, this dude needs to calm down.
That's so ballsy. Like,
but Dawson's dad was obviously really struggling with that and the jealousy surrounding it, like the whole episode. So for him to just be like,
let it
nothing
rain.
matters but me being here with you right now, like felt so nice.
Yeah.
And like that's got to be, like we've talked about how that whole storyline of them both trying to get past that is so nuanced and well written.
I think so too. And I don't think I noticed when I was young. Sorry. I was just
going to say I may be a little cheesy. They're standing there dancing and the phone's ringing, but I was like, no, they're not just, they could have just had them standing there dancing and you'd be like, oh good, they're working on it. But they make a choice in that moment. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was like so great. I really like that.
I agree.
And then do you have more problematic or that was literally
it?
Let me see if I had anything we haven't talked about yet.
I'm like
I didn't have that many.
I'm like so nice on these episodes where there's no teacher.
There's no pedophilia.
I'm like
it's
so
wild.
Nice.
It's wild. I already just said Bob calling the house. I was
Bob.
Like, get the H out of here, Bob. Bob, what are these names? They're so bad.
But speaking on back on the Farrah situation, I don't think as a young teen, well, I wasn't a young teen, but as a teen, I didn't fully like pay attention to that storyline as much as I do now because they're our age, right? And they've been married to their partners for about as long as we have been married to ours. And so like, and we have kids Dawson's age and like it hits different.
It does.
It does. It hits different now because you immediately picture yourself like in that situation.
Like, what would I do? I think too, at the age when this first came out, my mentality was always like, oh, well, if someone cheats on you, you get divorced. You get divorced. You get
divorced. It's just so easy.
Divorced. Like, and so I don't recall necessarily how I felt about this storyline, but if I had to guess, it was very much like, oh, well, like I wouldn't stay with her.
Like, what's the big deal? Like, just split up and move on. That's probably how I felt.
And now, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with getting divorced in that situation.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
But it's more nuanced than that.
Well, it's just harder.
Like you said, you put yourself in that situation and you're like, well, yeah, I would feel like doing this, but we share a house, we share kids, we have, like
we had 20 years together.
Yes.
Like that's,
and so it does make you more like, I don't know. I guess I understand why they're working on it.
Or at least trying.
Or at least trying. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other kind of like ex that I had, and again, I think it has to do with, well, actually I had two. I just realized that I had two. When they're on the Ferris wheel and Dawson ends up sitting next to Jen and the Ferris wheel stops. So now they're stuck and they have to have this conversation. First of all, I didn't like that. I don't think you should ever like corner someone. Maybe it wasn't their fault that the Ferris wheel stopped, but I was just like, oh, this is really gross.
Put her in
put her in a bad spot.
Don't bring that up then.
And then he's like demanding like a reason. And I just wrote, you don't have to have a reason to break up with someone.
No.
And he's like, you said you wanted to be alone, but now look at you. You're on a date. It's like,
which is true.
Dawson, take a hint.
But also, none your business.
None of your business. She broke up with you.
Right.
Period.
And like, why are you trying to make her say something that's going to hurt your feelings? Because you know it's coming.
It's going to hurt your feelings. And also, like we've said, Jen's going through things she might not even know.
Right.
She might be like, I think I like Dawson, but I don't know. So I'm going to do the right thing and break up with him. And then when he's demanding, but then like Cliff asked her out and she's like, well, I think I want to do that too. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's normal for that age and for like what she's going through. The only other part, and then once it was kind of explained, I didn't hate it as much, was when Pacey asked permission to like have feelings for Joey from Dawson.
You didn't like that.
I didn't like it at first because it was very like, can I like get with this girl? And they were like kind of like talking about her without her there. And I didn't like that. But then when he elaborated and he was like, I'm asking because we're friends.
Right.
We're friends. Dawson and Pacey are friends.
You didn't want to overstep.
And if you are, if you have feelings like this, then I don't want to overstep. So I think maybe it was just the phrasing of it caught me off guard. Like if you say yes, then yes, it's happening, which obviously Dawson was like, I'm fine with it. and then he wasn't, and then he was, and then he wasn't. But anyway, and then at the end of it, it was Joey's choice and it was a no. So I was like, okay, that ended up being fine. But I don't know. It's just something about the wording of it. Like, oh, y'all are just kind of like talking about who this person's allowed to be with and the person's not there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just struck me weird.
But I mean, even Dawson said like, well, you can do whatever you want. Like Joey's her own person. I think I didn't write it down, but I think he was just trying to make sure, which I thought was good, that you know, we're not breaking any kind of like getting in the way of something that could happen if your friend likes somebody.
Yeah.
Because I think we all have known people or maybe have been the person who did not care and just have proceeded and let people get hurt. And that's not good. So
that's not good.
that's not a good thing. So I thought, especially as a 15-year-old boy, to have that awareness of,
which y'all know was probably not realistic. Pacey strikes me as being pretty enlightened. I mean, Dawson is too. Dawson just gets in his own way because he's so... everything's emotion based.
Oh,
Pacey's to me a little bit more of a realist. A little bit more of like, I'm asking you about Joey not because I think there's some fairy tale love thing that I could be interrupting, but literally like, if you have feelings, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Right.
So I don't know. I just thought. Anyway,
look at these deep thoughts.
That was a pretty good episode. And since you said the next few ones are some of your favorites, I am so excited for more.
Well, in season one. In season one.
Yeah, season one. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully you're enjoying whether you're watching with us or not. Hopefully we sound better.
I hope
We're going to see, soon. And if the mice and ghosts don't get us, we'll see you next time for Dawson's
just a few more.
Episode 11. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.